Hello again, algebra students. Today we are going to keep doing more work just like our FOIL pattern, but we're going to have some shortcuts today. We already did some problems that look like these. We said, so if it was just a plus b squared, we would just have to do a plus b and then another a plus b, and then we would FOIL it. Same thing with the subtraction one. We didn't really look at this first pattern, but today is all about shortcuts. If you look at what we're doing today and it just doesn't make sense, go ahead and FOIL every single problem and it'll still work just fine. So the first pattern, and again, we already did problems just like this. If I had the a plus b squared, like we've got right here, that on our last lesson, we just did this. So we said a times a squared, got it. A times b, and then here's another a times b. That's how I get two of them right here. And then b times b gives me a b squared. Now, the shortcut for this, whether it's addition or subtraction, the shortcut is just going to be saying, I'm going to take, in this example, I'm going to take this first thing and square it right there. That's the x squared. To get this middle part, I'm going to take this times 2. Because when I FOIL it, I get x times 5 and then another x times 5. So I get two of those x times 5s, which gives me a 10x. And then I'm going to square this number, and that's how I get that answer at the end, the 25. So if I take a look at the one with subtraction, the fact that there's a little bit more stuff there, the fact that it's a subtraction doesn't really matter. But again, my shortcut is I would take 2x and square it, which gives me 4x squared, because the 2 gets squared and the x gets squared. Then for my middle term, I'm going to take 2x times negative 3. That's negative 6 times 2. I would get 2 of those, and that's where my negative 12x comes from. And then when I take negative 3 and square it, I get positive 9. Again, if that just made your brain hurt a little bit, it's okay, just FOIL it. We're all happy. It's no big deal. So when I look at this, again, I'm going to try it with the shortcut, and then I can show you with FOIL also that it works exactly the same. My answer, I'm just going to write it down here a little bit lower. If I square the first term, 3x, when I square that, I would get 9x squared. Then I would take 3x times 4, which is 12x, times 2, which is 24x. And then I would have the 4 and square that, and I get a 16 at the end. That's my answer on this one. If you don't believe me, or if you don't like that, FOIL it. So I would have 3x times 3x, that's 9x squared. That's a 12x, and that's a 12x. And then 4 times 4 is 16. And then when I put these 12x's together, that's my 24x. The shortcut is nice, but not necessary. So it's okay if you don't see this. Again, just using the shortcut, if I go ahead and do that, I would have 5x. If that gets squared, I would get 25x squared. Then when I take 5x times negative 2y, that's a negative 10xy. And then I multiply that by 2, so it'll be a negative 20xy. And then when I take the negative 2y and square that, that'll be a positive 4y squared. Now again, if I go ahead and FOIL that, oops, minus 2y, (5x) times 5x is 25x squared. That's a negative 10xy. That's a negative 10xy. And then negative 2y times a negative 2y is a positive 4y squared. And then my xy's go together and make a negative 20xy. I'm going to do these other problems with the shortcut. If you don't like this, I've already said, you can FOIL it. You don't need to know the shortcut. You don't have to use the shortcut. But the first one squared, and then I would have x times 7, which is 7x, times 2 is 14x. And then 7 squared is 49. No other work to show. If I square that 7x, I would have 49x squared. 7x times a negative 3 is negative 21x, so negative 42x when I double it, and negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Four x squared would be 16x squared. 4x times a negative 1y would be a negative 4xy times 2 is a negative 8xy. And then a negative 1y squared would be a positive y squared. Last one of those. 3m, when that gets squared, I'll get a 9m squared. 3m times n would be 3mn, times 2 would be 6mn. And then n squared at the end. So that pattern is nice and all, but this one's even better. If you have two binomials that are exactly the same, except one's addition and one's subtraction, these are great. When I look at this example, x plus 3 times x minus 3, so my binomials match, but one's addition, one's subtraction. I don't care which one comes first. If I FOIL that, x times x, x squared. That's a negative 3x, and that's a positive 3x. And then 3 times a negative 3 would be a negative 9. Here's the thing about this one. Those two middle terms are going to cancel out every time because one's a positive 3x and one's a negative 3x, gone. So all I'm left with is x squared minus 9. And it does have to be a subtraction in your answer because it was a positive 3 times a negative 3. So for this, again, I can tell you right now my answer is just going to be x squared minus 25 with the shortcut. X times x is x squared. That's a negative 5x. That's a positive 5x. And that 5 times a negative 5 is negative 25. Those two cancel. Here, again, 9x squared minus y squared is going to be my answer. 9x squared, negative 3xy, positive 3xy, negative y squared. And again, these middle terms cancel out. For this, again, hopefully you can see that this answer is going to be x squared minus 100, right? X squared, got it. That's a negative 10x, that's a positive 10x, they go away. 10 times a negative 10, negative 100. This answer is going to be 4x squared minus 1. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. That's a positive 2x and that's a negative 2x. They cancel. Negative 1 times positive 1, negative 1. And for the last one, this answer would be x squared minus 9y squared. X times x is x squared. Negative 3xy and positive 3xy. Cancel. Negative 9y squared. So today's worksheet is all just these special products. And I'm going to say it one more time. If that stuff didn't make sense, if you're worried that you're going to make a mistake, don't worry about the shortcut. Go ahead and FOIL every one of those. Okay? The answer key is in Schoology for this. There's no formative today, but there will be a quiz tomorrow in the next lesson, the next day that you're watching this. So there will be a quiz. Make sure that you're ready for it. Go back over some previous lessons if you need to. Let me know if you need any help.